Sometimes prayer is hardest, not because something painful happens, but because nothing seems to happen at all. You ask, you wait, you try to listen, and after a while, the silence starts feeling less like quiet and more like distance. And the strange thing is, you might still believe in God. The faith might still be there. But underneath it, a question begins to form that feels almost wrong to admit. What if no one is actually there? I'm Grace, and I think Jesus speaks directly into that fear in this gospel. Not with a quick answer or some vague comfort, but with one of the most tender promises he ever gives his disciples. He knows they're about to feel abandoned, so before they lose sight of him, he tells them what will still be true when they can't see him anymore. This is the night of the Last Supper. Jesus is with his disciples, and he knows what's coming. He knows he is about to be arrested, condemned, and killed, even though the people sitting with him do not fully understand that yet. So before all of it happens, Jesus gives them words they are going to need later, when the room, the meal, and the sound of his voice are all behind them. He tells them, "If you love me, you will keep my commandments." At first, that might sound like Jesus is only giving them something to do, but almost immediately he turns toward what he is going to give them. He says he will ask the Father, and the Father will send another advocate, the Spirit of Truth, to be with them always. The world, Jesus says, cannot accept the Spirit because it neither sees him nor knows him. But the disciples do know him because the Spirit remains with them and will be in them. Then Jesus says it plainly, "I will not leave you orphans. I will come to you." In a little while, the world will no longer see him, but they will see him. Because he lives, they will live too. And on that day, they will understand that Jesus is in the Father, that they are in Jesus, and that Jesus is in them. Then Jesus returns to love. Whoever has his commandments and keeps them is the one who loves him. Whoever loves him will be loved by the Father, and Jesus will love that person too, and reveal himself to them. So he leaves them with more than an instruction. He leaves them with a promise. The word that stays with me is orphan. Jesus does not choose a general word there. He does not only say, "I will not leave you alone," even though that would have been true. He reaches for something more painful, more personal, and more exact. "I will not leave you orphans." An orphan is not just lonely. An orphan is unprotected. An orphan has lost the person whose love, name, and presence tell the world that this child belongs to somebody. And for the disciples, that fear was about to become very real. Their whole lives had been rearranged around Jesus. They had followed him, trusted him, listened to him, watched him heal, watched him forgive, and watched him speak about the Father like no one had ever spoken before. Now he is telling them that he is going away. That is why this promise matters so much. The fear underneath this passage is not only sadness that Jesus is leaving. It is the fear that once he is gone, they will no longer know where they belong, and that fear still finds people. It can show up in the middle of prayer when you're trying to believe God is listening, but the room feels empty. It can show up during a hard season when everyone keeps saying God is with you, but those words feel true in your head and far away in your heart. That is the place Jesus is speaking into. He is not pretending silence does not hurt. He is not acting like his disciples will never feel confused, afraid, or unsure. He knows they will, which is why he gives them this promise before the fear arrives. And the promise is not only that God will be near them, it is deeper than that. Jesus says the Spirit of Truth will remain with them and will be in them. That is the part we can hear so often that it stops sounding shocking, but it should shock us. Jesus is not describing God as someone waiting far away, hoping we eventually find the right words, the right feeling, or the right amount of faith to reach him. He is describing a closeness that goes beyond distance. When we love someone from far away, we do the best we can. We call, we write, we visit, and we remind them that they are not forgotten. Those things matter. But Jesus is not promising a better version of long distance. He is promising the Spirit of God dwelling within us. That changes how we understand the silence of prayer. Silence is not automatically the absence of God, and the moments that feel empty are not always as empty as they feel. Faith is not only about trying to reach upward toward heaven, because in a way we barely understand, heaven has already reached inward toward us, and that changes how we hear the word orphan. Jesus is saying that his disciples will not be left without a father, without a home, or without someone holding them in love when everything around them feels unstable. Even when they cannot see him, they will not be separated from him. That matters for us because there are seasons when God's presence does not feel obvious. Prayer can feel dry, the heart can get tired, Life can become so heavy that nothing seems to confirm what faith says is true. But feelings, even honest feelings, are not the deepest reality. The deepest reality is the promise Jesus gives. I will not leave you orphans. Jesus is not saying the silence will never hurt or that faith will always feel easy. He is saying that silence is not strong enough to cancel what he has already promised. The Spirit has been given, and God does not abandon the place where he has chosen to dwell. So when prayer feels quiet, the quiet does not get to define what is true. Jesus has not left his people fatherless. He has given us the Spirit, which means we are not abandoned even when God feels farther away than he really is. God is closer than the silence makes it seem. That is the line I would want you to carry with you, especially if prayer has felt quiet lately. God's silence is not always God's absence. If this episode gave you something, support us by liking, subscribing, and sharing it with someone who might need to hear that. It really helps us keep making these. And I want to ask you this for the comments. Has there ever been a time when God felt far away, but later you realized he had been closer than you thought? I'd really love to hear what that was like. I'm Grace. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.